I'm the chief market analyst here at Markets.com, and today is Wednesday. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're having a wonderful week so far. We didn't have really much action, I would say, too much action, but I think the market's kind of preparing for Friday. But look, about all this and a little bit more in the webinar, which is going to happen in a few moments. So stick around. Hopefully you'll enjoy the session, and I'll see you in a bit. All right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, hello and good morning. My name is Darius Anucauskas, and I'm the Chief Market Analyst here at Markets.com. And today is Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. Today's midweek. Midweek, the 28th. Yes, the 28th of May, 2025 still. So yes, hello everybody. I hope you're all having so far a good week in general, right? Your trades are okay, everything is fine, you're all doing well. So at least that. So look, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk markets, the usual stuff. We're going to look at what's happening. We do have a few events here and there, although maybe the week is not the most exciting so far, but hey, I think maybe the end of the week could be a little bit more interesting, because again, don't forget that we are at the end of the month, and Friday is the last trading day, not only of this week, but also of this month. Look, before we jump into any of the action here, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimer. So yes, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation and should not be considered as such. This material should not be taken as an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. I'll give you a few seconds to read the rest. I'm not going to disappear anywhere. So yes, everything is, like I said, just to double check everything is running smoothly or not. Also, just to quickly mention our Markets.com website, which you can always check out for more information about us. If you have any questions, reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to assist. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at what's happening with Nikkei. Nikkei is we're seeing a little bit of a retracement here back down. So, look, in general, the market is kind of in limbo right now. Everybody's really talking about one company, and that's it, and it's Nvidia, and I'll pick up on that when I'll jump into the US indices. But right now, yes, I mean, there are some mixed feelings in the market, and this is what I was advocating for quite a while now. Yes, we had some great results, recently in terms of, the removal or pausing the tariffs between the US and in EU, so that kind of helped fuel the market kind of back up, but still there are concerns, still there are issues, there's fear, and look, as much as we want to believe that everything is fine, you have to understand that the market has been shaken. There are no major shakeups, yes, but at the moment the market has been shaken, and everybody's now like a little bit cautious in terms of like what's happening, in the market. Yes, we're getting a rally, but I think everybody's really shifting towards that short-term perspective. And everybody's looking from the short-term perspective. Everybody's kind of shifting their attention to trying to find assets which could be somewhat long-term. But I think that the only long-term could be the bonds, but those are also a little bit on the expensive side. However, still could attract attention. Look, for now, looking at the technical picture here on Nikkei, I said to you before, and I'll say it again, that maybe this is a nice little, well, not a very little, but nice head and shoulders pattern here, with the left shoulder being here, the head, and we're forming the right shoulder right there, and there we go. Can we break that neckline? let's see, because my breakout point is from this 38,500 zone, somewhere around here. If we can clear this area, amazing. A forthcoming higher high will be confirmed. In terms of economic data from Japan, there's not much happening up until Thursday. Tomorrow, consumer confidence is coming out, but that's the only thing. But then Friday, that's when we'll get the so-called data dump from Japan, and we're getting the industrial production numbers, retail sales figures, and not to mention the Tokyo core and headline CPI figures, which are expected to, the headline is not expected. I don't see the headline here. Let me just actually double check the next source here, another source. Because sometimes actually this is something that everybody should remember, that unfortunately you sometimes need to kind of jump into various economic calendars just to check if the validity of the information that you're looking at. So Japan, I don't see, actually, wait just a second, this is 30th of May. On one economic calendar, I don't see. There we go. There we go. Apologies. I was looking at the other day here. Yes. So Tokyo core CPIs are expected to, the headline year on year is expected to go a little bit higher, but tick up by 1/10%. The core one is expected actually to, okay, there's some sources saying that it's expected to drop, and the other one is expected to rise. The drop and the rise are in the same 0.1%, or not in, but with the same 0.1% increment. Look, of course, if inflation continues to remain somewhere, let's say above the previous figure, I would say let's approach it from that perspective. If inflation continues to remain above the previous number, this kind of continues to put this, I wouldn't say pressure, but this kind of it forces the BOJ to keep the idea of hiking rates in the near term, and this is what they're kind of thinking of doing. Of course, let me have a look at the Japanese interest rates. So the next interest rate decision is coming up in June, so the 17th of June. So we are expected to see no hikes at that moment. I think that July, this is when they are expected to go and hike rates. So for June, it seems like we're going to see still no action. So maybe this is where the index could remain positive in a way up until the end of July, because at the end of July, the interest rate decision is coming up from the BOJ, and then they're expected to go for a hike. So in a way, like I said, that's why I'm kind of leaning a little bit more towards the upside up until then. And then we'll see. Then we'll see what to do. But in general, I think I'm going to approach this from a simpler perspective. If we do get that pop above the 38,500, then yes, great. I will go towards the upside. My next target will be somewhere around this 39,580 zone, or even better, somewhere around here. This is the highest point of December of last year, near the 40,400 zone. Of course, in between we have the psychological 40,000 zone, which could be an attractive option, but let's go slowly on this, okay? Let's jump into China50 very quickly. So this one continues to slide. The market right now, like I said, is there's some good news, there's some bad news, everything is up in the air in a way, but there are no major developments on the economic calendar on China that are coming up, apart from on Saturday we're going to get the NBS manufacturing PMI. So okay, so this is going to be on Saturday, so keep your eyes on that one. Look, the manufacturing PMI is expected to jump a little bit higher. Ideally, it would be great to see a jump back above 50, because again, that would place the NBS manufacturing PMI into expansion territory. At the moment, it's struggling. Non-manufacturing PMI is still above 50, so hopefully it remains there as well. But on Monday, we're getting the Was it Monday or was it Tuesday? Let me just double check. Yes, Tuesday. Tizen manufacturing PMI here coming out from China. Again, very interesting to see what's going to happen. We're very close to contraction territory, but are we going to remain above 50? That's the big question. So we'll see about that, on Tuesday. But coming back to the economic calendar. Look, I think that for now, I'm just being careful with the index here. I'm not really touching it. But what I said to you previously, that if we start falling back below the 50-day EMA, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the downside. Australian ASX200 struggling with the 8,425 zone. Look, okay. The interesting bit is that, look, we got some numbers this morning from Australia, and that was the monthly CPI indicator, which came out, I would say, not lower. The forecast was for a lower number. It came out higher, and this is, of course, did not really work well for the ASX 200 because it came out lower than the forecast, but still the same as previous. So the market was expecting a lower number, but it came out kind of higher than the expectation. So this is where the fear kind of is kicking in, and this is where the market is a little bit fearful that maybe this would force Australia to kind of hold off from cutting rates further. At the moment, to be honest, they are they're still holding off, and they did a cut last time in May, and they did drop it by 25 basis points, but the RBA is not in that rush to do any of those major cuts. And this is where at the moment they're taking a very cautious and slow approach, which is fine. To be honest, in my opinion, I think that this is a decent approach. I mean, look, nothing is that bad. I mean, it's not really that tragic. Inflation is still within limits. So hey, why to rush? Why to rush? Because everybody understands that, why to rush to cut now? Because if let's say you cut rates, you make lending cheaper, and then you're also going to have a problem with supply, for example, with trade. Because again, we don't know, will there be a problem with trade or not? Will the deals be negotiated? Okay, that's unclear. So. But I think that what's happening is that the world is slowly trying to shift towards, not really depending on the US too much, and trying to make deals between themselves. So, look, in a way, this is a good thing because again, you're not reliant only on one economy, so you can keep the world running. So yeah, for now, I think the RBA is doing a good job, and they're not that I'm advocating for the RBA or something. No, I'm just saying that they're doing a good job. They're slowly monitoring. They're monitoring the situation, slowly making shifts in the interest rates. So if inflation starts picking up, then we'll see probably some action from the RBA. But this moment here on the ASX 200, I think that we need to be careful. Look, the decline here probably could come just on some profit taking because we had a strong rally already. Look at this. I mean, this major move. And look, it's we had a strong rally, so maybe a little bit of profit taking could happen, and maybe we could apply our beloved Fibonacci here, meaning that the 23.6 sits perfectly near my EMAs, which by the time could approach this 23.6, kind of provide additional support. Also, we had a good hold up recently here in the beginning of May, where from where we rebounded and pushed higher again. So just keep that in mind as well, and this is, like I said, this is where maybe a little bit of a retracement is actually helpful, is healthy before another possible leg of buying. Let's jump into Dow Jones Industrial Average. So I'm looking at the main index here. So these are not futures nor cash. So the market is closed, of course, right now. But look, I would say it this way: I want to keep an eye on this barrier, this 42,900. So basically, this is kind of helping me to eliminate the noise a little bit. Yes, we can see like right now some action here and there, but what I'm trying to do here is, like I said, I'm trying to eliminate noise. I'm trying to see if this is going to work out as a nice possible right shoulder of a inverted head and shoulders pattern. So the neckline is here, you know the drill. You know the drill, and you know that, if we can get a nice breakout here, this could open the door to some higher levels. Then we could start shifting our attention towards the 44,000 zone initially, and then we'll take it from there. So this is what I'm going to do first. Actually, the arrow should be this way most likely. In general, this arrow, the curved one, is working out nicely because I was initially aiming for my EMAs, and those have provided good support. We rebounded. Now we're pushing back up. My downside scenario is going to be very conservative. I know that I could look at the EMAs here, and okay, look, for those who are a little bit more adventurous, we can do that. We can keep an eye on the EMAs here, but if we do fall and we do fall and drop below this 40,000 kind of 700 territory, I will lean a little bit more towards the downside. So yeah, that's my game plan. I know maybe not very popular for with the bears here, this scenario, but hey, I'd rather be safe than sorry. Jumping into the S&P 500, yes, also had a nice push yesterday, good rally. We saw the S&P kind of gaining quite decently. Dow was not the best performer. Nasdaq was, and S&P is always somewhere in the middle between the Dow and Nasdaq. So that's kind of already like 90% of the time in a way. Well, ish, but it's a lot of times, that. But it's logical. It's in a way, it's logical. The S&P consists of much more companies, much more diversified companies. Dow is like top 30. Nasdaq is mainly tech. So yeah, so it's quite understandable. But look. Either way, we had a good run. We are having a nice push higher. This is working out like a charm. This 5,787 territory. I talked about this. I spoke about this area, and this is running good. Now the arrow needs to be shifted this way. So basically, if we do clear the 5,968 zone right there somewhere, this will confirm a forthcoming higher high, potentially attracting more buyers into the game, and we could start shifting our attention towards the all-time high. We're not far. It's quite doable in my opinion. So hey, just like I said, just stick with it, and let's see how this is going to play out. This upside line, so far so good, and if you're looking for some lower levels on this one, well, this is the thing. If I'll start shifting my attention towards the downside if we do start falling below the 5,787 territory right there, but I would prefer to wait for a drop below all my EMAs here. And if I can get that move, great, I'll consider a move further south. So yes, that's the situation with the S&P 500. Nasdaq, well, Nasdaq is doing a little bit better, and of course, all eyes are today on Nvidia, which is reporting earnings. Look, with the Nasdaq, I would say this way: if Nvidia, shoots up, I think that it will drag Nasdaq to the upside here. And in a way, the all-time high, honestly, I'm still aiming for that one, and I doubt that this could be something of a unrealistic, option. But in general, it would be quite fascinating to see this V-shaped recovery. Look at this. I mean, almost recovering everything, and something tells me that I think we could see another all-time high, this year for now, because the Fed is. It seems like the Fed is in control. The Fed is still monitoring the situation, not giving up to the White House, and yeah, all seems to be okay. So yes, briefly, what I mentioned about is Nvidia. Look at this, almost similar action to Nasdaq, basically. So, but still. If you're asking me, let's say, are you buying or are you selling? I'm really not doing anything with this one because the earnings are coming out today. Those are coming out in the evening after hours. So I don't want to rush into things. Thursday will probably be a more interesting day in terms of, let's say, for Nasdaq, for Nvidia. And then of course Friday. So yes, at the moment I'm leaning towards the upside a little bit. However, I need a confirmation break above the 137.40 zone right there. So keep your eyes on it. Today we might see just kind of flat trading maybe, or let's say another option here where we could see huge maybe moves to the upside, huge move to the downside, but at the end of the day, we would still remain somewhere at the same level. So because we're waiting for the news, we're waiting for the earnings, which are coming out. And look, I don't want to rush into things, and I don't want to kind of be all pessimistic and everything. I think that we could see good numbers, but not as good numbers as the market would like to see. And I'm going to make this bold statement here, and I'm going to make this bold call. I'm going to say that, look, I'm expecting, I think that there could show good growth, but it would be not as good as, like I said, everybody would expect. And due to the recent events with what was happening with the chips and with all these tariffs, and and the fact that Mr. Jensen Huang is advocating for removal of tariffs because it's kind of harmful for the business, because again he's advocating that that still if you impose tariffs, then you're kind of stimulating the Chinese producers to kind of create, reach the goal quicker, to reach, to find an alternative to Nvidia's chips. Otherwise, if you don't have the tariffs, then, it's still affordable, it's still okay to buy Nvidia's chips. So, that's where the kind of explanation is. Look, there are, of course, debates around this. I mean, you can debate this, you can say, no, but you're wrong, or no, but you're wrong. Unfortunately, we do what we know best at that time, and then time does tell us, like it does show us, like if you were right or if you were wrong. Well, kind of the whole essence of trading, right? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Nvidia, keep your eyes on that one if you are interested, of course. And yes, if we do fall below, from the technical perspective, again, if we do fall below the 129 zone, I'm leaning for a larger correction back down towards this upside line, taken from the low of the 7th of April. Let's jump into DXY very quickly. DXY dollar index rebounded, fantastic, great. What's next? Basically this, I'm keeping an eye on this downside line. If we get a nice breakout of this one, I'll aim for my 50-day EMA. If we struggle to break above this downside line, then of course all eyes are on this 98.90 zone, which provided good support. A drop below that could attract a few more sellers into the game. And also just to remind you that probably the most important day will be Friday, because not only that is the end of the month, end of the week, but also because we're getting the beloved Fed's beloved inflation metric, the PCE. So keep your eyes on that one. That's the moment the expectation there is for a little bit of a decline, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. So yes, core PCE year on year is expected to decline. Year on year PCE, headline PCE is expected to decline. Everything is expected to decline by 0.1%. So keep your eyes on that one. If that's the case, the dollar could drift back down. However, if the PCE comes out, let's say, higher than the previous, now that would be interesting, because then you would have like renewed attacks on Jerome Powell, in my opinion, because then basically he will be saying that oh, you see, inflation is no, wait, on the contrary, wait, that's where my problem is now. Now, on the contrary, if inflation continues to drop, yes, that's the correct path. If inflation continues to drop as it is expected, that's when the attacks could be renewed, because then he will say that, look, I told you inflation is dropping. Why the hell we cannot go for more cuts? And that's where the interesting bit could come in. If it comes out on the higher side, then in a way the Fed is right. So yeah, it's gonna be, that's why everybody's watching it carefully. It's like, who's gonna be proven right? Don't get me wrong, it doesn't prove anything. It's just that it will be picked up in the next game. So if inflation If the PC drops, then yeah, you'll see probably renewed attacks on Jerome Powell. But if inflation goes higher, then we'll have that pause for now. So let's jump into Europe. Unstoppable, ladies and gentlemen. This is just a crazy unstoppable. This is just what can I say? It is just crazy. It is just crazy. It is just we're looking at this one, and it is just nonstop to the upside. I mean, we had this shake up here. That's fine. That's understandable. That was on Friday. Now, when he decided to drop the bomb here on everybody that he's going to impose tariffs on EU, and yeah, DAX just collapsed, but then it recovered because over the weekend, everything was like put to rest, and like 9th of July, that's when we're going to remember about that again. Okay, so the market is DAX I think is trying to enjoy itself up until the 9th of July. So let's see. I think that there could be some more upside. However, look, I mean, in general, this has been a crazy move. Look at this. I mean, look, so far from the beginning of this year, where's that beginning of this year? January 2nd, that's when we opened up, and where we are right now, we're gaining 21%, almost 22% we're gaining. Right, look, okay, it's an interesting moment. I think that it's a decent result already, but how far more? I mean, are we going to go for the 25%? Are we going to go for 30%? So in my opinion, if you're struggling to find a good area of resistance, try to go from this perspective. Try to look at the things from this perspective. Try to look at it from like the percent. How much are we gaining? This year already. So far we're getting almost around 22%. Can we go for that 25? And with the 25 is roughly, let me just check, let's say somewhere here, roughly around the 24,900. Talk about roughly. So basically the 25,000 zone is becoming a number that DAX traders could be talking about. So let's keep an eye on this, of course. Let's see what's going to happen. And hey, I'm not excluding that. We're not really far to go another like 800 points, to the upside for DAX. I think it's quite doable. Let's see, but in general, look, the harder you fly, the higher you fly, the harder you fall. It's it's going to be an interesting one. The FTSE 100 is trying to push back up, so yeah, I cannot say anything else. It's just it's a little bit annoying. Okay, this level here, the 8,742, kind of worked initially, but then it stopped working. So we need to redraw this, and probably for me right now, this 8,800 becomes the barrier to the upside. So if we can push above that, I'll go further north. But if we struggle to go above this, or should I say stay above this, then yeah, I mean, maybe a bit of a retracement could be possible. Let's jump into gold. So gold yesterday declined after finding good resistance near the upper side of this falling channel. That's absolutely fine. Again, this falling channel, look, it's a little bit subjective. It depends on how you're drawing it. Like if you're drawing it this way maybe, or you're drawing it the other way. So it's yeah, it's something to kind of, like I said, it's a little bit subjective. Maybe you can draw it this way. So yeah, maybe it would make sense a little bit more like this with a few overshots here on the downside. That's fine. Either way, I said it multiple times and I'll say it again. Whenever we are within, let's say, any formation, it doesn't matter, triangle, wedge, channel, we are waiting for the violation of one of the sides, because we're waiting for the for the instrument to exit the formation through one of the sides of it. So while we remain inside that formation, we most likely could follow the same trajectory that the formation is indicating. Let's say, for example, in this case it's a falling channel, then the downside scenario is still not off the table. But what I said recently that, look, for me, I'm a little bit on the careful side. This level right here, this 3,285-ish, so far it's kind of doing a good job in providing good support. If we do drop below that, then yes, we could, aim for that 50-day EMA. But let's not rush into things. Let's not rush into things. Let's keep an eye on this. And hey, if we do fall and stay below that 3,285 in the short run, I'll consider a move towards the 50-day EMA. I would prefer to wait for a drop below the 50-day EMA, but I do understand that some of you might be a little bit impatient. However, don't forget to have your stop losses in place, because this could be a bit of a choppy session. And look, the thing is that we're not really, it seems like the bulls are not really giving up. They want to go higher, but the upper side of the falling channel is in the way. So we need a clearance of that upper side of the channel in order to consider higher moves. Silver. Silver is also struggling, and is struggling with the barrier, as you can see here. I'm going to highlight it. But yeah, I'm going to highlight it here. So yes, this 33.68 barrier is the one that I'm watching right now. If we can get a nice clearance of that one, great. More buyers could join in. WTI oil, of course, everybody's talking about oil. It's one of the causes of lower inflation everywhere. Headline inflations are on the lower side. Core inflations, on the other hand, are somewhat itchy, somewhat on not dropping that much. However, headline inflations are seen on the lower side, and yeah. For now, I would say we are monitoring this carefully. I'm cautiously leaning towards the downside, but I need to drop below the $60 mark. If I can get that move, hey, amazing. I'll consider some lower levels. Jumping into natural gas. Ooh, look at this. Wow, what a move here to the upside. Boom, ladies and gentlemen, look at this. Nice jump. Need to dig into this and what's happening. However, I think that maybe yes, I think that there are some issues. Yes, so basically at the moment it seems like there is some news that because of cheaper oil, shale gas development can be put on a side, and basically there could be some a drop in shale gas development and shale gas refineries, and it just pure extraction. So lower oil prices make it more attractive just to kind of use oil, use petrol, instead of jumping into natural gas. Hey, I think that's all temporary, but the fact that the development could be suffering, or the shale gas development could be suffering, not to mention all the issues that it kind of brings with it, because just in general it's not really the most natural thing to do with our Mother Earth, the way it's done in there. But anyway, so the fact that there's a drop in the shale gas development, or could be a drop, that means that maybe there could be less supply, and maybe that's where the price of natural gas has jumped, because there is an expectation that we could have less supply because of a drop in development of shale gas. So again, this is right now. I mean, it's not really until we start jumping into all that. It's not really kind of proven, or it doesn't carry that much weight yet. But the first steps, you can see already that we're seeing natural gas pushing higher. And look, I mean, I would say there is a chance for this one to make a move higher. However, if it starts falling somewhere below 3, then yeah, I'm going to consider a bit of a move to the downside. Let's have a quick look at a few of the other coffee. Yeah, there we go. Coffee still to the downside. These are the futures, Bovespa. Cocoa, look, okay, cocoa continues to slide, and this is in a way good for those who love chocolate. But again, the upside scenario is not off the table. Looking at this technical picture, we could see a nice support here somewhere, a rebound and push back up. Let's see if that's going to happen. If not, if we clear all my EMAs and the upside line, then yes, I will consider a move lower. Jumping into the Forex world, ladies and gentlemen, AUDUSD, look at this. So we had an attempt to move higher on Monday, and we did move higher, but we struggled to stay above the 0.6515. So we're back in this little kind of area here, and initially I had this as a triangle pattern, but I said that I prefer to wait for a push above the 0.6515 zone. We had the push, we didn't get the staying above it, with the body of the daily candle remained below it. So what we're seeing here is basically like a triangle forming here, an ascending triangle. Either way, I'm still gonna remain with my same level here, this 0.6515. I would need to see a push above it in order to go higher. We can keep an eye on other things here as well, like the EMAs. If we continue to trade above that, then there is still a chance for this one to push higher. But if we start falling below those EMAs, below this upside line, a tentative one of course, then this one is taken from the low of the 24th of April, then yes, we could consider some moves to the downside. AUDNZD looking good here, drifting to the downside, and yeah, NZD is on the stronger side right now. I'll jump into NZD in a bit, but hey, for now it's drifting nicely to the downside. AUDJPY, still the risk on environment somewhat is there, but you can see clearly how this pair is reacting to the market in general, to the equity market. And yes, we are having some kind of uncertainties, and straight away AUDJPY is, yes, not falling, but not really growing, not really rising as well. So for now, I'm still going to remain somewhat bullish, but yeah, I'm going to aim only for the 95.75 territory, somewhere around here. NZD/USD. Look, I talked about this. I mentioned this in my yesterday's video here, and also on YouTube, and I said to you, like, look, I mean, we got the interest rate decision from the RBNZ this morning. They dropped the rate by 25 basis points to 3.25. Look, RBNZ, the guys there are still willing to jump in. They're still they're seeing some issues. They will continue cutting rates. And yeah, I mean, at the moment, I think that they're on this path of cutting rates, and I think that they will continue doing so. The expectation that we will drop the rate below 3% this year, and I think it's going to stay, yes, below 3%, could stay below 3% by the end of this year. But let's see. Again, let's not over speculate this. And some of you might say, but hey, like, look, I mean, what if if it stays on the lower side, that's not good for the currency. Well, here, oh, just almost knocked off my microphone. Here, the issue is that look, if AUD and NZD are seen as risk currencies, and in a way, when the market is doing well, these currencies are doing well. So yes, you get your little temporary shocks when, let's say, the RBNZ does cut the rate. However, if the overall economy is doing quite well, those rate cuts maybe are actually supporting the economy, and this way, when the indices are growing, when the risk on environment is kind of jumping back into action, that's why we're seeing NZD and AUD pushing a little bit higher. Yes, like I said, when you get the interest rate decision, you get that little temporary shock, you're going to get dropped to the downside, and then you get a recovery. But for now, I think that also the driving force here on NZD/USD is the somewhat of a weaker dollar. Look, I'm still somewhat positive on this pair, but as I said before, I need a clearance. I need a clearance of this barrier, the 0.602930 zone, something like that, and then we could go from there. Jumping into USDJPY very quickly. So yes, we are We are still somewhere like below the EMAs. Look, in general, I want to do this. I'll remove all the drawings, and actually I'm going to bring something back here, only these two levels here. This one, the lowest point of September of 2024, and the lowest point of April of 2025. So overall, without even drawing any like trend lines or anything, we are still below all the EMAs on my daily chart. And looking at this, everything is really like negative. So yeah, I think that the yen buying is still not off the table. We'll keep on monitoring the situation in the market, but USDJPY is not really feeling the love yet. So let's keep an eye on this. And in general, if we do come again closer to this 139.90 zone, 50, something like that, well, I think that there could be a good chance for this one to break out lower. But again, let's not over speculate on this too much. It's an interesting one, but if we start pushing back above the 50-day EMA, shown as the green line, the next target is the 100 and then the 200-day EMA. USDCAD, okay, there we go. After a while, I mean, I haven't looked at this one for a while, but hey, it is quite important. Look, today we don't really have much action from Canada. We don't have much action on Thursday as well. Friday, let's have a look. GDP growth, yep, GDP growth is coming out. The Q on Q here, no forecast there. Growth rate annualized 1.7. So basically we're expecting a lower figure month on month. Okay, not in the same trajectory, not in the same kind of with the same pattern as the annualized one, but expected to come out a little bit on the higher side. Okay, let's see how that's going to play out, of course, but hey, keeping a close eye on that. If it comes out on the higher side, then great. I mean, for the Canadian dollar, we could see maybe some strength here again. But look, let me remove all the drawings. So again, the same story like with AUDJPY. USDJPY. We're also like, I'm removing everything here and just keeping the EMAs, and you can see that we started kind of dropping. The 50-day dropped below the 100 and then the 200, and now we are approaching this this moment when maybe, just maybe, the 100-day EMA could drop below the 200-day EMA, and then this is where we could start shifting our attention to much lower areas. USDCHF, yes, the kind of the mimic of the DXY dollar index. So 0.8193 is the one that I'm watching here. A nice big drop below that could attract a few more sellers into the game. For the upside, I need to push back above the 50-day EMA. EURUSD, very quickly, a little bit of a decline after finding good resistance near the 1.1425 zone. We're drifting back down, so okay, that's fine. Look, I'm not really saying that, I'm bearish, because I would like to see what's going to happen here with this 1.1264-65 zone. If this provides good support, guess what? We could actually aim for a little bit of higher areas here, and then we'll go from there. For the downside, I would prefer to wait for a drop below that 1.1265 zone, and then I'll aim for the 50-day EMA. But even then, I would prefer actually to wait for a drop below the 50-day EMA in order to go much lower. Very quickly on GBPUSD. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, whoever's watching this, you can always ask questions if you wish. I mean, that's the whole point of this live show. You can drop a message in there in the chat. I can pick up on it. And if I know the answer, I'll tell you I know the answer. But if I don't know the answer, I'll tell you I don't know the answer. So, ladies and gentlemen, yes, feel free to ask questions if you wish. It's an interactive session. So yes, GBPUSD is still somewhat positive. We still remain above the above this 1.3450 zone here. And as long as we stay above that, then yes, great. I'm going to continue targeting the upside. Also looking at this here, and looking at these upside lines here could be something to keep in mind. And yep, why not to? they do make sense for now. Why not to keep them on the chart? But if we do drop below the steeper upside line, then yes, it could open the door to some lower areas. Let's jump into, well, I talked about the commodity world. Now let's jump into cryptos. Ladies and gentlemen, Bitcoin still struggling with the all-time high near the 112 zone. Yesterday we found a good move here. Look, and by the way, on Monday I was talking about this, like, don't rush. Because why? Because I'm watching this highest point of January here of 2025, and hey, we are struggling so far. So for me, you see the weekly, I'm jumping into weekly. The weekly right now looks more like a doji. If that's the case, we could see a little bit of a reversal going into next week. And then the most important is the monthly candle here as well. I said to you on Monday that if we do see the body of the monthly candle remaining below the so-called previous all-time high, which was back in January of this year, then hey, I think that there could be a little bit of a retracement. But again, we'll have to just go from what we see there and then, and kind of that's it. But for now, it's looking very interesting for the bears in a way. Could be interesting for the bears, but some confirmations are required. So at this point, while we remain in this territory, I'm not really doing anything. However, if it starts falling below this territory right there, this 106,800 zone, something like that, then I'll consider a little bit of a move lower. Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash is, yes, it is near key support as well, and then this upside line. I mean, look, Bitcoin has been doing good, right? No questions there. But other cryptos, I'll pick up on those. You'll see that those are a little bit struggling, and that's where, you know, this is where the kind of the problem arises. And look, for me right now, yes, it looks quite interesting, but I don't really want to rush into things. I mean, unless you're without leverage and you're maybe investing or something, then maybe you don't care. You just buy in that and you hold it, and whenever it shoots up, you're happy. Yeah, you can do that, but just if you're always looking for something like maybe a better entry point, you can basically do multiple entries if you wish. So again, it's up to you, it's up to everybody, but let's not exclude the downside scenario as well. Ethereum struggling with the 2,737 territory. Look, I cannot say anything else. I need a break of that area in order to go higher. Period. For the downside, a drop below the 200-day EMA could open the door to some slightly lower levels, and basically that move to the downside could be part of a larger correction to the downside before another possible leg of buying, because we're still trading above this upside line taken from the lowest point of April of this year. XRP, this one actually looking a little bit bearish, to be honest. I mean, look at this. I mean, this looks like a bearish flag. But I need a confirmation below this 2.28 zone. If I can get that move, amazing. I will go to the downside. Litecoin is at an interesting spot, and hey, Litecoin right now is holding, it's resting above the above all the EMAs, so there is a good chance for this one to move back up. If you're a little bit on the conservative side, then you can wait for a push above the 107 zone right here. But hey, it's all up to you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, the fact that we're holding above all the EMAs, that's great. But the fact that we're very close to these still, we cannot really bounce off of them, then it means that there could be a chance for a little bit of a retracement here, maybe a drop below all the EMAs. If that happens, well, I'm opening the door to some lower levels. Dogecoin. Dogecoin is, yes, it is the same story basically. To be honest, I mean, there's not much to say apart from, I'm keeping an eye on these barriers for the downside, for the upside, and the first that gets broken, and if it meets my criteria, then I'll consider the next short-term directional move. Polkadot, similar story. We're near upside line here, so hey, do not rush into things, ladies and gentlemen, yet, because it is an interesting. It could be a nice, good option to the upside, but I would prefer to wait for maybe a push above this barrier. Again, it's this 5.37. Again, that's a little bit. I know you're missing out on a lot of territory, but you know, I'd rather be safe than sorry. And Tron. Now, Tron is like, it's holding on. And this one is still, you know, a good player here. It's not showing crazy stuff, but in fact, it's kind of showing some sort of stability. I think it's wonderful. So for now, I'm keeping an eye on the 0.2822 zone. If that gets clear, the forthcoming higher high will be confirmed. My downside scenario is going to drop back below the 0.2615 zone, somewhere around here. And at the same time, if we do fall below the 50-day EMA, I'll consider a move lower. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's a wrap for this session. Join me Friday. We'll wrap up the week. We'll prepare for the PCEs, and we'll see what the market has been doing so far. Yes, I mean, but in general, I think that the market is, like I said, it's trying to take it calm. It seems like that, but look, Nvidia, keep your eyes on it today. If you're not even trading it, it's fine. Don't care. Just keep an eye on the indices, and especially Nasdaq. And if you are trading something like that, that related, then it's becoming, it seems like that, or at least it has this like image that that the Nvidia earnings are somewhat of a becoming like an indicator, economic indicator, basically, where you measure the success of the economy by how good Nvidia is doing. So yeah, at the moment, at least to me, it seems like that. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as always, please do like, share, and subscribe this thing, and the usual YouTube stuff that everybody says. But to be honest, I mean, that would really help me out. So please let me know. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, feel free to leave those in the box below. But hey, as always, stay safe. Have your stop losses in place. Risk only what you can afford to lose. Don't overtrade, and everything will be fine. I'll see you on Friday. Bye bye.